This conference will now be recorded.
(6:15). I'll call to order the Town of Cottage Grove and Village of Cottage Grove Joint Fire Department Committee meeting. We have a quorum present. Meeting was posted in town, posted in the village. We have the minutes of the November 29th meeting.
I'll move approval as presented.
Motion by DeFlay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Andrews to approve the minutes as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All same sign, motion carried. Any public appearances? None. Go to the chief's report.
The chief's report on the membership level has remained the same at 36 members. We did interview one new person who will be brought up for a vote on February 1st. We finished 2021 with 328 calls for service. We're currently at 16 calls for the year. Of those, 5 were for mutual aid to other municipalities. The modems, tablets, and software for the MDTs have all arrived. We're still waiting on the antennas and brackets to arrive. Once those do come, then we'll just have to set up getting them installed, and then we can put the MDTs into service. I'm hoping by end of January, early February, that'll all be done in service.
You doing the installs yourself or got the radio shop coming out?
Jen comes and we come do it in-house. In January, the department participated in ASIM training. For those who don't know, that's active shooter incident management training. We're one of the first departments in the county to go through the training. After this month, almost all the members of the department will have that training. And we'll set up a drill later this summer to actually do an incident with PD and EMS. Ladder 1 had a pretty bad hydraulic leak on it. It went in for repairs. It actually just came back today. That was about $5,000 to get that repaired. One of the main lifting cylinders blew out the hydraulic seal and was leaking hydraulic fluid.
Is that the same one that had the hydraulic problem?
Yeah, so last summer we had all the hydraulic lines going up the ladder to the bucket all replaced. And now this year, the 2 main lifting actuators, the end of one of them, there's an O-ring in there that basically blew out, so hydraulic fluid was coming out. It's starting to show its age a little bit. I mean, the truck's coming up on 20 years old, so yeah, problems like that.
Sure.
An update on the new engine. It's supposed to go into production the 2nd week of February. Substantial completion will happen at the end of March. From there, it'll go right to Reliant, which is the dealership we purchased it from, and they'll do all the outfitting of brackets and mounts and stuff. They'll have it for probably about a week, and then I would anticipate by mid-April, we should have the truck if everything stays on schedule. The tender was originally scheduled for December. That got pushed out to January or February, depending on some of the parts.
Of 23.
Yep.
Oh, December 22. Has been pushed to January, February 2023.
Yeah. And that should be all I have for chief's report.
For the, you said at the beginning that there's 36 members with one being interviewed.
Yep.
Would they be a member then at that point, or would that be?
So they've been interviewed already by the screening committee, and then the way it works for membership is they get voted on at the first meeting of the month, which is February 1st. I don't anticipate any problems. This is somebody that would be second generation, and I don't see anybody voting no on the person, I would guess. So I would guess that he'd be a member in February.
And would they be, would they be a full firefighter then, or start out as?
Start out as probationary.
Oh, okay, and then work,
Yep.
okay.
Any questions for the chief's report? Okay, update on drafting the consolidated fire agreement.
No update.
Discuss and consider use of ARPA funds for radio replacements.
So we talked about this at the last joint fire committee meeting, and we originally thought maybe there were some issues with doing that. I talked to Matt Geezy about 2 weeks ago, and he said he'd gotten some updates from Baker Tilly that there's been some clarification put out through the government that up to the first 10 million in ARPA funds that you guys receive, there's a lot more leniency than what was originally thought. So it could be used for those in theory. He was gonna get some more clarification on that, but I haven't heard back yet. So that is an option, it sounds like, but it'd be something that each one of you guys would have to discuss with your treasurers and how you want to deal with that if you wanted to head that way. So.
Yeah, the town attended one of those virtual meetings that the federal government put on after they finished the draft. And it basically said what he just said, that the first $10 million, I don't care what you do, basically.
Yeah.
So
It was,
Yeah, I think it was Johnson municipalities had an email about it too, they think.
you didn't have to have lost revenue. You just said everybody gets 10 million.
Right, because it was so restrictive before and now
Right.
it's,
So the town, we did talk about and said we would probably be willing to do it.
we haven't, in the village, we haven't talked about
We
that
haven't
yet.
finalized it yet.
We had a discussion before they came out with that ruling,
Yeah.
so I'm sure we'll talk about it more.
there is a YouTube video of a teleconference from the federal government where they had a rep from the Treasury Department, a rep from FEMA, and a rep from there. It's an hour long that actually says, complete with charts and bar graphs, this is what you can do, this is what you can do, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. We can't build any jails or correctional facilities.
Put money in pension funds.
Right, but other than that, I mean, it was actually, given the lack of information we've had for so long, this was actually, it was pretty interesting to hear that all the stuff we had talked about, at least at the town level, of potentially doing, we could do. And the nice thing about it is, this is coming from the government. It's not like some person out there who thinks he or she knew what was going on. So it was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I think it was too. It was a eye-opening display.
If we were to use the funds for the radio replacement, does it make sense to do all of them at once? Because you
Well,
had talked about that.
Yeah, I mean, we had talked about a replacement strategy, but that wasn't. Again, the ARPA funds are kind of like a blank check scenario, right? Like it could cover all of them. That changes the strategy, but when we met, we were still operating under the idea that ARPA funds wouldn't be used. So again, blank check scenario,
a new ball game.
New
Right.
one, so,
Right, and just as far as replacement in the future, though, it makes sense to space it out.
Yeah.
Except that all of our radios are now obsolete, are they not?
They all are.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all functioning though. Like, we did meet with the village and kind of come up with a plan going forward that, you know, if you guys were paying for it, maybe the option would be better to space it out where every year we buy 8 radios or something, and at the end of 5 years, every radio is replaced, and you keep it on a rotation, almost like a computer, because radios are changing so fast. So that would spread out the cost, and it would keep technology updated.
Do you think you have to spend money by 26?
Yeah, that's what I thought, so it would give a few years anyway, maybe. I mean, it's something that we can talk about more. So then, like with the EMS, where we have to replace both ambulances, like at the same time, we don't have to run into that situation with radios then.
Yeah.
Just something to think about.
so
And
do we,
radios will come up for EMS too.
Well, yeah, there we go.
They're in the same
No,
situation as us, that they're looking to replace all their radios right now too.
so I heard there might be a chance is what I heard. It wasn't definitive. It just sounded like there could be a chance we could use the ARPA funds. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, it's pretty definite, I think.
Okay. Like 90%?
I would say probably 99%
Okay.
seriously.
Yeah.
We have to talk.
I guess when you talk to Matt, like, was Matt like, I'm just trying to imagine that conversation, right? Like how that
He
went.
just mentioned it. We were having a meeting about inspections.
Oh, okay.
And he kind of mentioned it. He's like, we did get some clarification from Baker Tilly that
That's helpful. Okay.
it is an option. He didn't say that he was committing to that option or
Sure,
anything
sure.
like that, I guess, you know.
Sure. Okay, cool.
That's for you guys to hash out.
Yep, yep.
And I think before the village board, when we talked about this before the federal government had opened it up more, I think it seemed to me that the village board did want to use the funds for radios as opposed to anything else, if it was a possibility, but we didn't really talk about it a lot because at that time we couldn't use them, so.
Yeah,
sure.
So we will have a bigger
Yeah, we'll go back to
discussion.
The board. Yep.
And if not, like I said, we discussed we had a meeting with Dave a couple weeks ago and we talked about in the next budget cycle, we'll just write it into the budget for the plan to replace 8 of them and then continue on a cycle. So if that's how you guys want to move forward.
13, if we have to spend it in 3 years, then.
I'll put this on the agenda for the next time and see where we are.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Discuss and consider false alarm issue at Hydrate Chemical.
So we issued them the order for compliance like we talked about, just a letter saying, you know, we get a lot of false alarms here, please correct it and cited the codes. They did call us and ask for us to meet with them after that, which I did. They're gonna have their fire alarm company come in and adjust their flow switches. Currently, they're set to the minimum, so basically, there's a time delay on a flow switch on the fire system. And what we found is that they're all set for 30 seconds, which is the minimum time they can be set to. The maximum they could be set to is 90 seconds. So if you get a false alarm where you get a big surge in water flow because the hydrant system drops down or something, it'll ignore that for 30 seconds and it'll set off the alarm. So they're gonna adjust them closer to the 90 to try and trigger, you know, try to keep some of those false alarms from happening. They're also ordering some parts to fix one of the other systems. They didn't know if the parts would be available by the time of the deadline we gave them. And we just told them to reach out to us and we'd be more than willing to work with them, like as long as they're making efforts to fix it.
Moving forward.
Yeah.
Did you talk to JJ at all?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, he said some of the dates corresponded with when they were hydrant flushing, but there were some that definitely didn't. So I think JJ said he was gonna have his guys reach out to them in the future when they are planning to hydrant flush. They can put their system in test to help avoid some of those, hopefully. But with the new adjustments, it really should help take care of some of that too without putting it in test. So,
Okay. Discuss the annual report.
So I sent it out to all you guys, everyone last week. Something that a lot of larger departments do for their municipalities, they put together these reports where they talk about the call statistics, kind of what the department's doing. Our department decided going forward that we would do that. So everybody had an idea of what's going on. Don't have really much to talk about inside of it, just if you guys had any questions about it, or if you wanted any clarification on it. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I think this is great. I really appreciate it. And I know it takes a lot of work putting it together, this type of report. So thank you for that. One suggestion, if possible, if you can, because I know that we have a lot of people that have been in the fire department for a long time, if you can just like make notes who's been there for like milestone years or something next time, that would be really cool.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Anything else?
Looks good.
Okay, then we'll discuss and consider fire inspections.
So this came up, we're kind of evaluating everything that's going on with the fire department right now, all of our programs. And I guess what we wanted to talk about is that kind of the frequency of what we're doing for inspections. I sent out that Word document with it where I'm kind of explaining what we're looking at for that. Currently, every year we do every commercial property twice a year, regardless of what the hazard is. SPS 314, which governs fire inspections, say that certain properties only have to be done once a year, but we've been doing them twice a year anyways. I guess we're just looking for some guidance from you guys if you want us to continue doing the twice a year, or if you think we should go to the once a year on the ones we can, or if you wanted to look at the third option where we just do all of them once a year and do an ordinance for it. Because ultimately we're responsible for them, but it's your guys' municipalities. So it's like, we're doing more than required. It's an added burden, but it's not, we're willing to do it, I guess. So. What was the question? I'm sorry, what was the question?
What's your preference?
I don't know that we have a specific preference. Did you have one that you heard most?
It's really up to them. I mean, they represent the constituents, so they should be doing what they want for their community. I mean,
there is an added cost by doing them twice a year, but it's not, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not
much
significant to do them all twice a year. It's just a time thing. So like,
do you have a problem with labor availability to do them?
not really. I mean, we have inspectors and we just had a few more go through the certification. So we're having people that can do it. The thing is like, to put an example to it, like we're inspecting all the park pavilions twice a year, you know, and really it's like we walk up to them and.
Looks good to me.
It's not on fire.
Is that really something that needs to be inspected twice a year, I guess, you know?
Nick, you referenced, was it a statute or was it a guideline or what did you reference?
I was referencing SPS 314, which is state code.
Okay.
Well, one of the options that the state code says is that we could, in theory, move to once a year inspections on all properties except for high hazards like a hydrant or, landmark down there.
Fertilizer plant.
Right. But you guys would have to draft an ordinance in each one of your municipalities saying that you're choosing to do that, which costs money to draft an ordinance and go through all that stuff. That would cut our inspections in half. It's still not a significant
I guess
cost to do all of them.
I'm curious, when inspections were started, was state code recommend twice a year? Or I guess I'm just trying to think how we got here to figure out how we go forward.
I think throughout the years, it's the code literally says it's up to the fire chief designee or whatever. So like, I think the previous chief just felt like if we're doing them all, we should just do them twice a year and be done with it. Then there's no confusion as to this one should be once a year, this one should be twice a year. And we're more than willing to keep doing it that way. It's just, like I said, we're reviewing everything that we've got put together. So there is some cost savings availability there. And we're just kind of trying to feel you guys out for what your preferences are for your
I mean,
municipality.
I think that like it's super easy, right? Like you just say, let's do them all twice a year, right? But then if you start to, if you turn the dial back, right? Like there needs to be like easily understandable criteria, right? Because if you just say high risk properties like hydrite, like I'm just like, I don't know if this is right or wrong, but like I have to explain it to my kids, right? Like
Sure.
something simple, right? Like this property, like if my 12-year-old can tell you, right, this is a property you need to inspect and this one they don't. Like I think that's just
SPS 314 does have some guidance on
Okay.
which properties do have to be inspected twice per year. There is a list of them and we can get you the copy of that.
let's see if I can.
It's the link. It's in the middle paragraph there, your second option.
They
It
have
gives
all,
you the exclusions for which ones
I think all
can be limited to once a year.
I think all of them have a paper copy of it up there right now.
Yeah, so that one of those links, there's like 20 types of occupancies that can be limited down to once a year. And then everything else has to be done twice a year.
You do it every 6 months then roughly, or?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they can't be, when we do it twice a year, they can't be closer together the next amount of time and they can't be further apart than the next amount of time.
I'm looking through SPS 314, see if I can.
And that's what you do for Pleasant Springs also?
Right.
This is a big chapter, so.
Dave, do you have the document with the link?
He's looking at it.
Is it in the agenda?
Yeah, 314.
The link will take you right to where the exclusions are.
I'm gonna keep one because I don't see it in the
Go
agenda.
to 314.01
It's,
and 13 B5.
It's in the Word, it's one of the attachments to the,
Oh, I see it.
Good old paper.
Oh, that one, okay. Yes. 13B5. Here we go. Okay. If it's in B5, it should be looked at. Oh, okay.
Those are the exclusions.
The following types of occupancy shall be inspected at least once per calendar year, provided the interval between those inspections does not exceed 15 months. Okay.
Have you had any inspections, like in the last year that required anything done to them?
I mean, they find stuff all the time.
exit lights,
Exit lights are a big one.
fire extinguishers.
You know, so they find little stuff like that all the time. I'm not aware of any really big, like, oh my God, if we don't fix this tomorrow, we're gonna have a fire here kind of thing, but
I hope not,
Mostly-
because you check it every 6
Right.
months.
it's mostly just the small stuff like that, like an exit light out or extension cord running where it shouldn't be. Fire extinguishers, all that stuff. So.
7.
But if there is a fire, they're important items.
Correct. Yeah. And that is gonna be one of the first things an insurance company looks at if there's a structure fire in those occupancies. They're gonna be looking at the fire inspections, and if we go to every year, we write the same thing as being a violation and the people never fix it, well, then they're gonna be in trouble with their insurance company when that comes up. They're gonna say, why didn't you fix that? You knew that was a problem, you know?
I don't know, for me, for my takes, I think he's just stay as you've been doing, do it to every place all the time. Until the public gets, upset with us.
Yeah,
Well, I
I
just
like
think,
it twice a year.
I mean, this is just part of the sausage making, right? Like, I don't think I think the general public's not gonna care, right?
Yeah, until the
Yeah.
building burns down.
Until the burn, I mean,
And then they'll be like, why did you?
Yeah,
vote no?
why didn't my building pass inspection here? It was supposed to have been inspected twice.
You go back and check, like, if lights are out or something and you tell them to fix it,
We should be going back and doing a re-inspection when we find violations, but because we're doing them all twice a year, we just do the re-inspections when we're doing the second inspection of the year, so,
do you have any like habitual offenders that don't fix the stuff?
yeah.
Is there a way that we can fix that? Yes.
Shaking her head to
Because I mean, I think that's an important aspect of this too. Otherwise, what's the point of inspecting it if they're never gonna fix it?
Correct. So we did like with Hydrate, where we did a order for compliance. We have that's an option. There is the option to issue citations and fines, but I don't know if the village ordinance or town ordinance allow for that. You're more the expert on that side of it.
The village does, but I think the citation authority, we would have to utilize law enforcement to assist with citation authority in the village. And then I think the same thing,
We did look the last time, like when we did the order for compliance, it said the fire inspector could issue a citation.
but we don't have citations, so that's why we have to utilize law enforcement for assistance with citations, which is why I was nodding yes, but it takes a lot of work and would require probably some modifications and updates to ordinances and assistance with implementing citations, which we would hope we would never, ever have to do something like that because we would just be proactive and use education to gain compliance. But I think that there's some work that might need to be done in looking at the fire department authority and clean up with the ordinances there. And I think it's very similar in the town as far as citation authority goes. We would have to look at that too, the way it's written, if we were needing to enforce something to gain compliance. I think we utilize the deputies in the town as far as compliance issues go. But we would maybe want to look at those ordinances a little bit to see how fire code violations go. So what a lot of municipalities do is they actually will attach a monetary fine to a fire code violation. So after so many days or so many notices of violations, then you can actually get a monetary fine for non-compliance with a fire code violation. So if you get a warning, then you get a second warning, and then after the third one, you end up getting a monetary fine for non-compliance. But that would all have to be written out through your local ordinances.
Can you think of one place in particular in the village that it would make sense that we have this? Without naming names.
Just not getting an angry call from somebody. If you'd like to talk about it after, I can.
So you're saying, yes, I don't need to know who. I just wanted to make sure that, like, if we were to move forward with fixing it, like, there would be a reason.
There would be a few that
Okay.
would help moving forward, yes.
Yeah, no, we should look into that. Well, definitely. I think 2 per year, still 2.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything to change my mind. Yeah, and for minimal cost savings, it's not gonna,
Yeah. I mean, it
it's not
helps.
gonna bust us out.
Right.
Is someone going to make a motion to that?
We'll make a motion.
To go to
Stay in.
continue the twice
To
a
continue
year
the twice a year inspections
or
for all
inspection?
places of business.
I'll second.
Motion by Duplay, second by Melissa to continue with twice a year fire inspections. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Now we want to discuss and consider fire inspectors' pay.
Yeah, no doubt.
So a couple issues were found during PAA's audit, which they're gonna obviously talk about next week, but I figured since we're meeting today, we could talk about it, give you a heads up. A couple issues with how the inspectors are paid, first of all. So currently, each municipality does a little bit different. The village, I submit numbers of fire inspections to the village treasurer, and they pay the inspector a flat rate of $6 for a commercial or for a residential structure, so like apartment building, and $12 for a commercial structure, so like office building or something. And then at the end of the year, they don't do any withholding, they don't do any benefits. At the end of the year, they issue a 1099. So basically, the village is treating the fire inspector as a contractor. The issue with this is that when they're a contractor, they technically wouldn't be protected by our insurance, and they wouldn't be protected by the village's insurance because they're being paid like they're an independent contractor. The town is kind of similar, but the town actually does federal withholding, state withholding. They do all the taxes and benefits. They don't do any benefits, obviously, because they don't get paid enough, but the way the towns is set up, they're literally like they're an employee of the town. So that means they'd fall under your guys' insurance and not be protected by our operations, basically. So the recommendation going forward is that in our annual budget, we should write out a cost for doing inspections. And basically what should happen is the fire department, Inc. should be paying the fire inspectors, and the municipalities pays the fire department, Inc. for the cost of the inspections. That would make them our employee under our benefits, under our liability. I don't know what we have to do to change that, but it's basically in everyone's best interest. I mean, protect the inspectors and to protect the municipalities from it. I mean, they're not really your guys' employees, so, you know.
So you'd have a separate line item, one for the village, one for the town, for what your projected costs will be for 23 for fire inspections.
Correct. So,
That makes sense.
Makes sense to me.
and then the other topic we were asking about is the actual pay for the inspections. In the village right now, it's $6.12, so $6 for a residential and $12 for a commercial, which is actually lower than the town. In the town of Pleasant Springs, we do 15 per inspection. So because the size of the residentials are getting much bigger, like all the apartment complexes that are coming online, they're take a lot longer than a quick walkthrough now. We're hoping to move everything to a flat rate and then make it match the town. So all inspections are just paid $15 across the board, regardless of what they are.
For the notes really quick, so the town of Cottage Grove and Pleasant Springs, what's the fee right now?
15.
15 for residential and commercial?
Correct. But the town in the town of Pleasant Springs doesn't really have the residential
Sure.
like you guys do.
How many fire inspectors are there?
There's 2 right now. We just got 2 more certified, hoping that they'll jump in to do some of them. And then there's April, myself, and one other member are all certified to do inspections. It's just, I don't really have the time, and April doesn't really have the time to do the inspections right now.
So you could have 7 if you
You
had.
could, in theory, have 7, like if one of the other inspectors can't do it, then there's several people that could jump in and help out, take off some of the load of it. And you don't have to be certified to do fire inspections. You have to be trained. So like, we can train somebody to do the fire inspections and then give them permission to do it through the state. But obviously, having them certified is more of a benefit because they know more of the code and know the rules. So
Well, it makes sense to me that the village should pay the same amount as the town flat rate. I mean, it's interesting that we haven't been. It must have just kind of slipped through or something. I don't know.
I mean, the prices have been the same since I joined the department back in 2007. So I mean, it hasn't really changed either way.
Yeah, but like.
It's one of those things that it's just been
He said
doing.
there hasn't been nearly as much apartment development
Right,
going on as there has been lately.
right.
And are we all right with it going into his 23 budget?
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me too.
To me, this sounds like there's really two things here at work, right? One is the budget, and then 2 is the fee per inspection.
Mhm.
I don't know, do we have to take that back to the village board? The fee?
So, yeah,
Yeah,
well,
okay.
if we were to approve it here, it's like a recommendation to the boards then,
Sure.
when it has to deal with funds, I think, right?
It doesn't matter for us because it's the same for us.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Do you want a motion on that?
I think it says
Yeah.
discuss and consider.
Okay, I'll move that the village pay $15, a flat $15 across the board regardless of type of inspection, starting in 2023.
Beginning in 23, it becomes part of the fire department budget.
Yes, you get that?
Okay, wait, move to pay flat 15 per inspection in 2023,
Mhm.
And
make the, and
Inspections become part of the fire department
inspection
budget rather
fees
than
become part
the
of
village or the town budget
fire
in
department.
fire
23.
department budget.
Yeah.
Okay. Radcliffe move to pay flat $15 per inspection in 2023, and inspection fees become part of the fire department budget in 2023.
Any questions, comments on the motion?
Did I get a second?
Second. Well,
Sorry.
You made it.
I
no,
made
she
it.
made it.
She made it.
I'll second.
You second.
This is why you don't ask me to do the minutes.
It works for me.
All right. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Discuss 2021 call data. It's in the annual report.
Yeah, so it is in the annual report, but we did include, we do this breakdown every year where we highlight what the call was, which municipality, all the dates, and how many responders came. That's in your packet of information. Basically, we had an increase in call volume, the highest we've ever had at 328. A lot of it was, I explained it at the last one, a lot of it was, we had a very large number of canceled en routes and false alarms. People calling in something and there's not really actually an incident, or we get there and it's like hydrate would be considered a false alarm. So we had a large amount of those. We also had a lot of medical calls this year, a lot of extra medical assists. So far this year, we've been pretty busy in the first 24 days. I guess we'll see as it moves throughout the year where we end up. So it's just to give you more data than what we would put in the report, I guess.
Why so many mutual aids? Any idea?
Just part of the MAVIS system, the mutual aid box alarm system. You know, if a neighbor has,
Really, to any one particular community more than another?
surprisingly, we went to Edgerton a lot last year. We're on their cards for a tender. They have a lot of brush, they have pretty big brush fires that they called us to. They had several structure fires they called us to. Stoughton, this year it's been Stoughton a lot. Their ladder was out of service for 4 months. So we were being paged to their structure fires for the ladder.
Okay.
Kind of depends.
Can you, and I think we talked about this, but I'll just, for the sake of posterity here, like in terms of the canceled and no incident calls, like besides hydrate, I guess who's the next worst offender? Is it more like,
The canceled
Like 90 and
routes are
94.
more of like people on the interstate, like, or the highways, like, there's a car on the side of the road smoking, so it's gotta be on fire. I better call 911. Well, then we get there and we don't even find a car because of
I do remember you
overheating
mentioning
and the person drove off by the time we got there. Or
Okay.
state patrol gets there and determines it was a car overheating, and they're like, there's no need for fire, so they cancel us. That's a large amount of them that are on the interstate.
and there's just nothing we can do about those, right? I mean, I had to ask the
Everybody's got a
question.
cell phone.
And a lot of them were like people burning brush, people call in a fire. They see fire, they call it in. A lot of those happened in the village for, my neighbors burning leaves. I don't like that, so I'm pumping. We get the
I mean, I know you
neighborhood.
can't, but you're not supposed to in the village, but
Right,
call the fire department, I mean,
so.
can't just go talk to your neighbor and let them know.
No, that doesn't work too well.
There you go again, he's allergic.
And some of them were like legal burns, like they had a campfire and a burn ran, and their neighbor just called it in and stuff. I don't know.
I just-
Give you guys the practice.
Yeah, so usually the PD gets there first and they go, well, it's a campfire and it's following all the rules, so no need for fire, they cancel us.
We had to put signs up out here because they were burning behind the building and they called the fire station on fire. Just people on their phones, oh, there's a fire, I should call it in.
I mean, I guess the alternative is just as bad, right? So. Trying to look at the positive here, but
No.
it's tough.
If you'd stop burning your leaves, David, this would be fine.
Well, we had a leave truck.
That's right.
You're not supposed to burn. Put them on the back of your trailer and you go driving around. They all blow out. Anything else on coal data?
Just if you guys had any questions about it.
Okay. Discuss and consider new apparatus.
So I kind of mentioned the schedule, the new trucks that are coming. The squad is scheduled to be replaced in 2023. We talked to Dave a little bit about this when we met with him. Currently, they're looking at 20 to 24-month lead time to build trucks. So if the squad is scheduled for 2023, it's probably not going to happen. It's probably not going to be here in 2023. It's probably going to be more like 2024. So the question was posed, because the lead times are so long, should we build the truck and get it approved as soon as possible? You know, as opposed to the normal schedule, we would look at presenting it to you guys in September for your guys' budgets.
Yeah.
But you guys have been doing cash on delivery, so really you wouldn't have to pay for it until the truck arrives. So if we get it together quicker, then the truck could be ordered, put in the queue. It'd still probably be
Still won't get until.
we said 19 to 24 months is what they're talking right now. And if it's on a commercial chassis like the squad currently is, it's even longer. We're looking at doing a custom chassis because how long the lead times are on the,
So you're talking like 2025 now.
I don't think it's quite that bad yet, but it's heading that way.
I mean, like when I looked at the squad, it was like we talked about, like it's cleared, like just put an order in. It's gonna take, I mean, no, just order the truck. I think my biggest question that I had after that though is like, when you put the order in, so let's say you order it today, when do they need like what your final spec needs to look like? Knowing that there's such a big long lead
You
time.
need to have the final spec before you put the order in. That you're signing based on your spec. You can do change orders after it's ordered. So you have to have it significantly configured. Like the new engine, we had everything approved and purchased in 2020. And then there were a few change orders that have been put in to change some stuff. But it didn't really add to the cost because we took out some stuff, added some stuff to make it fit better, I guess. Same thing could happen here. We've met with 2 manufacturers so far. They're both working on their first offering based on what we told them. And the way we've done it is that basically we come up with a list of basically everything we can think of for that truck, right? And then we look at the cost, we look at the benefits, how many of those kind of calls we go on, and we cut out the unnecessary stuff that we would deem to be an excessive cost and really more of a wish list than a necessity, I guess. So we did the wish list and everything on it, and they're building them now, they're spec now, and then they'll come back to us with that list. We'll cut and chop and kind of end up with a final spec, probably in the next few weeks here. So I would think by the next meeting, if we're doing March, we would have a completed spec for you guys with a completed price on it.
Should we start doing that?
Yeah, I would see why not, especially if they're saying that if they're giving us, this 19 to 24 month time frame to get one.
Chassis for an ambulance.
Yeah.
Just like the lead truck.
So,
I guess I'm just looking at the calendar, right? So it's January 24th, we meet sometime later in March,
March 24th.
you know. I guess being that we are in the time of COVID, nobody knows what's gonna happen day to day, let alone month to month. Like, how close are you guys to a spec? Like saying, that's the one I want?
Close.
60%, 80%,
Uh,
90%?
I would say probably closer to 70, if not 75, 80. Pretty much got it dialed in. We had to cut a few different things and talk to the manufacturers to make sure they have the same spec. But I think the other thing too, Nick, I was gonna ask, when they order, that locked us in too from the price changes, didn't it? The increases?
Yeah.
Should.
So that was one of the big benefits of ordering that engine way back in 2020. But at least we know in February, we knew Pierce was gonna take, for sure, Pierce they always take one in February. Not sure about E1, but
Yeah, there's definitely one coming February 1st.
yeah, we knew we weren't gonna be able to avoid that one. If we can avoid any other ones after that, 19 months, who knows, they could have, you're gonna at least have another one a year off for Pierce. And he even thought, what'd they take? 4?
They had 4 last
I think they
year.
had 4, and they were anywhere from 3 to 4% each time. So that's.
Sooner
that's a
we
good
can
part
lock
of it,
in
but-
something, the more.
Are you gonna put a bottle filler on this one too?
Yes.
I guess, do we make a motion this month or do we wait for the next one?
I think we should probably make a motion, give them some direction as to what we want them to do. And I would suggest we get ready to place that order as soon as we can with what the lead time's going to be, because it's probably not going to get any shorter.
It ain't gonna get any cheaper.
No,
No,
I
it
actually
won't
just
get any
talked to
cheaper.
I actually just talked to the manufacturer of the trucks that we ordered. He said the the tender's being built on a commercial chassis at Kenworth. He said that he had a company that he priced right around the same time as us. They're just approving it now. In that amount of time, the truck, the chassis alone, just the chassis went up 30 grand. So that's not even the rest of the truck.
What's that? That should be in the car business.
I kind of don't, like, I'd like to see something though before we vote on anything though, so.
Right, no, I mean, like,
Do that until the next meeting.
Well, or
right, we'll give you
before.
prices based on, we'll give you
Yeah.
multiple manufacturers' prices and stuff before you ask me to approve
Okay.
that.
It's
We're
a
not gonna.
motion to,
Direct them to do it.
Direct him to work
Finish
towards
it.
getting a, you know.
Yeah, we're not just signing a blank check or anything.
Yeah.
No.
so I'll make a motion to, I'm trying to think how to word this now. I will make a motion for the department to continue researching and bring back quotes to the next joint fire committee meeting.
Second.
Motion by Dave, second by Duplay, for the department to continue working on the replacement of the squad and bring back quotes for our next meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Right.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Squad is left. See if they have to replace for a while. The next one would be the ladder, which is 2028. And then engine 3 is 20, or engine 4 is 2033. So it's the last one for a few years at least.
And how much is that ladder truck gonna be? Just out of
Right now, we're
curiosity.
looking,
$1 million.
right now, I think the ladder,
It's gonna be expensive.
platform ladder about that size is right around 1.2, 1.3 million right now.
Be like
By then, it'll probably be 1.5.
My son's department just bought a new ladder and it was $1.33 million.
We actually asked him how far because of the, when he told us the 19 months, we're like, oh, because we were worried about what we've got planned out already over the years. Like, okay, well, that we pushed that and we know we pushed the other tender and wait a minute, the ladder is going to be due. And we asked him how long you could pre-order the ladder because they didn't know. He didn't, what did he say?
I just asked him again today about that, and he said that basically they let you extend a couple months from the lead time. So like if the lead time right now is 24 months, they'd let you have like another 3 to 4 months, but they won't let you do like, we couldn't order the ladder today for 2028. Because I have,
But I took you into consideration when I asked him, like,
I
can
was
we order
thinking about that, but probably not.
I did ask him, just because,
a little too much for them. Huh?
No, but if it's 3 years, I mean, think about the price changes over 3 years. You're talking a 1.2 or
Yeah.
1.3. That's a difference probably
Well,
between 1.3 and 1.5.
You're only buying one, but I'm sure like New York or Chicago can, different ball game, right? But like,
Oh, yeah.
Right, when you're ordering 50 trucks a year from 5 different manufacturers, that's a whole different
Yeah.
animal. But for us, that's, we can save a couple $100,000 or $100,000 or $50,000.
All right, our next meeting is on a Thursday, the March 24th. And any special agenda items? Let me,
I'd like to talk about potential, after meeting with the department, I'd like to bring up the conversation of potentially meeting more often,
more what?
maybe once a month.
I guess,
You want to go back to monthly?
I would be more in favor of doing monthly, just because we have so much stuff that comes up at any given time. We are an emergency service, so meeting every 2 months. Sometimes that's a long time to go between meetings, especially if you got something important that came up, I guess, instead of calling an emergency meeting. Maybe monthly would be more beneficial. It is for you guys too, really.
I think you wanted to talk about that next meeting. Right?
Yeah, again, I'm still new at this, right? So when it comes to, do we meet more often or do we make it an agenda item?
No.
I didn't have a chance to.
We used to meet monthly and, oh, how long ago was it that we switched to every other month?
I mean, we all need more meetings like we
It's
need
been longer than
more.
4 years.
Huh?
It's been longer than 4 years. That's how long I've been here.
Time flies.
It just, when I had my meeting, it sounded like, there's some other things too that I'll bring up another agenda item, but because of that, because there were so many things going on, I think it's important to bring up. And then the other agenda item, you're gonna have to help me here, Nick. So there's a curb in the back of the building, like some landscaping and some curb.
Oh,
The island, thank you. Peninsula, whatever you want to call it. Possible removal of the rear island in the back of the building at some point.
Well, we talked about it because, so right now with the way the building's configured, squad is in the back door facing towards the front. So basically, to get the squad out, engine 4 has to move. And then you get the squad out that way. We talked about if that curb wasn't there, we could make the squad face out the back. So when the squad has a call that the engine's not going on, nobody has to get into the front truck and move it out of the way. You just get in the squad and come out this back door. The problem is with that island being there, the turning radius is on the truck. It's too difficult to back the squad in to the rear door right now. With the new squad, the turning radius might be better, especially if we're doing a commercial chassis or a custom chassis over a commercial chassis, but it'd still be, we were talking about, I think last year we talked about like a wish list for the building, stuff we could do to improve the building. That would be like one of our top items would be to get rid of that island because it limits where we can put trucks and it would make it more beneficial to the building if we could have that island gone. We could put trucks where we want, I guess, as opposed to where we have to put them.
Removal of the east island?
Yeah.
Okay.
East Island, is that what I should call it?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I didn't know it had a name, so I just want to make sure the notes are right. Okay, cool. And then last but not least, talk about a bottle filler.
Yeah, for the station. So we wrote the Leary grant last year for filling SCBA bottles in the station. Currently, we fill them off the squad. We only have a single bottle fill station on the squad. So every time an SCBA gets used, you have to take the bottle and take it over to the squad, fill it one at a time. That's kind of the old system when we used to have 2,100 PSI bottles. It worked out pretty well. But now that we're running 4,500 PSI bottles, it doesn't take very many SCBA bottles to drain the system down. And then you got to refill the squad and fill again. Where if you had the in-house system,
So you just need to upgrade the old system?
we did upgrade the old system when we got the new SCBAs because they all went to 4,500 PSI. So that the bottles in the squad that we use for filling are now 6,000 PSI bottles. There's 6 of them. But you just don't get as many fills out of it as you used to because the increased pressure. And when we had the squad out of service for a week and a half, 2 weeks last year because of that part that was broken, we didn't have a way to fill air bottles. So when we had a fire on the interstate, we had to take all of our bottles over to Stoughton and fill them up. So we talked about like 2024 budget writing in fill station. We're gonna probably apply for a grant again to try and get it, but that was one of the things we talked about with Dave. So we don't have to rely on a truck to fill air bottles in case that truck's out of service or on a call or.
So are you gonna get prices on these so we can discuss and consider them?
Yep.
We did get a price on that fuel station this last year, and it was about 18,700. So you can kind of figure that that's going to go up in price a little bit. So give yourself maybe 1,000, give or take, a little bit there for an idea of what that's going to cost for a fuel station. Just kind of as an idea.
And then last but not least, I think either, I don't know if to discuss and consider or discuss, but just walk through the replacement strategy we came up with for apparatus, radios, all that shit.
Oh, that list that he gave us.
Did I miss something in the packet? I must have.
No, you were talking about, he's talking about the capital budget, but what you're talking about is like, rather than in 10 years, come to you guys again with a huge lump sum for all the radios, we talked about just writing in every year X amount of funds to pay for a certain amount of radios. So we just continually buy or have money in the budget to buy radios every year, like enough to buy 8 of them or 6 of them or whatever you want to make the replacement schedule. So that in 5 years, every single radio has been replaced, almost like a computer replacement schedule, we're
Then are you gonna start all over again?
right.
It's just constant.
Yeah.
That way you guys aren't seeing.
So, yeah, we talked about radios, turnout gear. There was a couple, and that's in my notes. I just had to go back and look. But basically just, I can work with the chief to kind of come up with that replacement strategy, like draft something out that says, okay, every 3 years we do this, every 10 years we do that, blah, 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 just so that you have a good understanding of here's the replacement strategy, rather than just having to swallow the whole watermelon all at once, right? We take pieces off of it.
It would make your budgets more consistent too, or our budget's more consistent. It would just be every year it's this amount and we're paying for all the replacements the entire time, as opposed to like at 10 years, I come to you guys with 200,000 for all the turnout gear. You're not,
Less
we would
points.
just be replacing them as we go.
Hoses.
Oh,
Yes.
hoses, I'll put that on there too. Whatever.
In me, I'd like it all at once.
You must not be an accountant.
But,
I don't have the debt, so I can take it out when he needs it.
Sure. I think that's part of that's part of the discussion, right? Is to just talk
Rather
about like,
than piece
financially.
here, piece here.
That I can see the point of having to only replace 8 radios every year. But at the same time, that's an everyday cost every year. And it's never gonna get any cheaper than what it is right now.
Sure.
Because like the last time when we did all the truck replacements and we built the station, I put that all in one bond.
Sure. All part of the discussion.
Okay,
Cool.
anything else? Do we want to meet in February, I guess? We have a next meeting date. Do you want to meet in February or
Easy.
March?
I think if we met in February, we could probably have a price by February on the spec.
Okay.
So we would bump it up 1 month. What do you think? That's too quick.
February
They
28th?
made a motion, it lets the manufacturers know we're dead serious, so that they're gonna turn around as fast as they can.
Yeah, February 28th works for me.
not me,
How about?
but maybe it works for Sarah and Paul.
It works for me.
I'm still looking at my calendar, just pulling it up. February 28th.
So if it works for a majority, that's fine.
6:30? 28th,
6:30 or 6:15?
6:30.
6:30.
So you get to stand alone.
Sarah is on and it turned to green like she was speaking, but
Yeah, can you hear me?
she was saying
Get
something.
the volume up.
Saw her face earlier.
Can't hear you, Sarah.
I'm
Here
here.
you are.
There you are.
28th works.
Can't hear you.
The volume on the TV needs to go up.
Hold on.
Been talking to all of us.
He would have
Waving,
texted
waving
one
at
of
the,
us, it
waving at
would've
the
been
screen at home.
great. She says the 28th works. She texted me.
All right, yeah. Not working, but okay, February 28th works. Cool.
I swear to a.
All right, then we're down to the
I move
last
we
item.
adjourn.
Is that 6:30 or is that?
6:30.
Okay.
Mike and Steve. Motion. and
Motion
second.
by DePlay, is there a second?
I did.
Anders for adjournment. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same
She
sign.
voted aye as well.
Motion carried.
We didn't hear her, but she voted aye.
Well, lip reader. She doesn't need to have the mask on, so.
Mine wasn't working.
And there's no public comment. Online. All right, bye, Sarah.
Still hanging. Still hanging.
Huh?
Still hanging.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the minutes, David.
Yeah.
Make sure you get those to Kim.
Okay.
Otherwise, she sends a nice email reminder. When we
Okay.
get close to the meeting.
Some tested positive for COVID.